Let me show you how to make a crochet ribbed vest. So we're going to need our yarn, obviously, and a crochet hook to go along. And I also recommend making a little chart since we're going to have different amount of stitches and rows. So like this we can keep count and make sure that we make the vest perfectly symmetrical. There shouldn't be any differences from the front and the back, etc. I'm going to be using this little row counter. It goes around your finger. This is actually the first time I'm using it, but this is optional. You could count by mouth or whichever way you want. So we're going to begin with a starting chain, which will be the side of the vest. Depending on what size you want to do, that's how long your chain will be. For this size I made 34 chains. So I'm going to write that down over here. Amount of stitches on this side is 34. Now we'll chain one extra. This is not counted as one of the chains. And I like to work the first row into the back side of the stitches. It just makes it a bit sturdier and easier. So now beginning with the second chain, not that first one, the second one over here, we're going to make single crochets all the way down. Okay, now that I've reached the end, I'm going to mark my first row. And now we'll chain one, turn your work, and starting from the second row on, we're going to work only into the back loop of those V's that are on top. So ignoring this chain one that we just made, into the next stitch, we're going to go into the back loop only and make a single crochet. Next one also, back loop only, single crochet. Here I've finished the second row, so I'm going to add that to my counter. And now again, we chain one, turn, and work into the back loop only for the whole row. For me, this is going to be the last row for the side, but if you would like it to be bigger, then just continue making rows as many as you want. So this is how much I'm going to need for the side. I made 3 rows all together, so I'm going to write that down. This side is 34 stitches and 3 rows. So now I'm going to begin with the shoulder. The next row, when I reach the end, I'm going to add stitches for the shoulder. So I'm going to reset my counter as well. There we go. So chain one, turn, and make the row as normal. Just when we reach the end over here, we're going to chain up more stitches. Now I'm going to begin to chain up for the shoulder, and I'm going to add 24 chains, so another 24 stitches to this, but you chain up however many you would like for the shoulder. 2, 4, and I'm going to count this as my first row for the shoulder. So 1 row, and I'm going to write down how many stitches I added. So shoulder, I added 24 stitches. And now chain 1, turn it over, and single crochet all the way back, finishing the row as normal. Make sure that when you finished those chain stitches and you're beginning here where you've already started crocheting, to again make into the back loop only, whereas at the chain you were just making into the loop. Here we continue making into the back loop only. Now just continue going back and forth the whole row, including the shoulder, just making sure to keeping track of how many rows you're making. Now I've got enough for my shoulder, and it came out to 12 rows. So I'm going to write that down. And I am going to add over here the total of how many stitches I had while doing the shoulder. So it's 34 plus 24, so I'm going to write 54. Sorry, I meant to write 58. Okay, so now you need to see how deep you want the neckline to go. And according to that, you'll see how many stitches to do. So I have here 58 stitches altogether, and I want to go down 16 stitches from the top. So that means 42 stitches I'm going to have over here for the center. So I'm going to write here, the center will be 42 stitches. So now chain 1, turn, and I'm going to make 42 stitches. And remember to reset the counter if you're using one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 41, and 42. So this is where my neckline is going to start over here, and let's make the first row. So now we'll continue making back and forth from over here for the front of the vest. So here I've reached the end of the middle part. I've got the size I need. Keep in mind that this is a ribbing pattern, so when worn it's going to be a bit stretched out, so make sure to size it accordingly. Now I did 20 rows, so I'm going to jot that down. Here we go, 20. So now I've made myself pretty much a pattern. I know how many stitches and how many rows for each section of the sweater. And now I'm holding by the second shoulder, which I'm going to begin with coming up to here and adding the stitches that I left off over here, which were 16 stitches. And so I'll have 58 stitches in total, just like I wrote over here. And so the rest of the sweater is pretty much following the pattern that we just made, going according to the stitches and the rows. The only difference I'm going to make is, and this is, you can choose to do that if you want, is when I reach the back, I want to make the back a bit higher than the front. So here I've left off 16 stitches by the shoulder. In the back I plan to let off 10 stitches by the shoulder, so I'm going to make the back panel a bit higher. But if you want to do that, you can do that. If not, you can make it exactly the same as the front, but you can pretty much continue on. You have your pattern written, and now we're continuing with the second shoulder. So we're going to add now, I'm going to add 16 stitches to reach 58 as I have written down. I'm going to pause for a minute and make myself a note over here that after I have the 42 stitches from the center, I need to add another 16 stitches to get to the full number for the shoulder, which is 58. So this is just a little note so that I should remember how many stitches I need to add for the shoulder. You can note that down as well, just so you have it more clear. And now that I've reached the end of the row, which was 42 stitches, because this is now the 42 stitches from the center, and now I'm going to add another 16 to reach 58 for including the shoulder. Again, you're going to make your own pattern, so you'll have whichever stitch count you've written down. 1, 2, 3. Just remember to chain one extra, because when we start crocheting, you start from the second chain, and also remember to turn it around since we want to come to this side of the crochet. We shouldn't be on the wrong side, so make sure that you're going into the back side of the chain like this. Okay, so I've got the whole front done. I finished here with the 3 rows for under the arm, and now I'm just going to repeat all the steps, everything that I wrote down here for the back. Okay, so here I've finished the back panel as well. You can see the back is a little bit higher than the front. There we go. And now I am almost finished on the side, the 3 rows that we had on the side. But after doing 2 rows, or however many you want, right before the last row, now we are going to close it up, and that will be considered as the last row on this side. So choose which side you want to be, the inside or the out. It's pretty much exactly the same on both sides, but if you have, for example, I have some knots that I had around. Actually, I have on this side too, so just pick whichever side you would like to be for the inside and turn it to the inside out, because when we're going to connect it, this is going to be the inside side. We want the other side to be the outside. So make sure that you are in the inside now. And the last row, we're going to be connecting both sides together. Now we're going to go again into the back loop only, and also pick up the stitches from the very first row. You should be able to find that row pretty easily. Here we can see the stitches from the top. So here's the first, and we'll make a regular single crochet like that. Now the next one, picking up from here, and the next one over here, and single crochet, and we'll do this all the way up until the whole side is closed. Over here and over here. At the end, you can cut your yarn and pull it through the last loop. And now it's closed on both sides. Remember, this is the inside, and the outside it'll look smoother. And now the last step is closing up the shoulders. So now we're going to take a needle and a little piece of yarn. So we'll match the first shoulder, both sides together, and go in at the beginning. Pull almost all the way. And now we'll tie this tail. And continue sewing both sides together. At the end, we'll secure it off with a knot. So just like basically going into itself to create a knot. There we go. And the first shoulder is sewn together. Now I'll do exactly the same for the second shoulder. Okay, and the very last part is sewing in all the ends. So go ahead and do that. Once you're done, you could turn it to the right side. And that's how you can make this very easy ribbed vest in any size you would like. Good luck, and I'll see you next time. Bye!